Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. Been absent for a couple of days while we've had some work people wandering around the house doing some painting jobs and some other jobs that we need to get done. So I've been a bit absent for a couple of days, but I still want to encourage you to, as I try and reach 4,000 subscribers next month, which starts tomorrow. Please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications, and of course make comments down below. I do enjoy reading your comments. What I'm going to talk about today is really, I'm going to be asking a question. What do you do when when you need to recognise or you struggle to recognise that in any predictions that you made, particularly in relation to the election campaign, that you were wrong? The problem that Sky News now have is that they spent an inordinate amount of time prior to the election telling people how much the Liberal Party were likely to win by. Their worst scenario was that there would be a hung parliament. Their best scenario was that the Liberal Party would pick up a number of seats because people would see that it was evident that the cost of living crisis was not being met by the Labor Party and the Liberal Party. Even though they didn't have any policies in relation to that, they were a better economic management. But that didn't turn out to be the case. They also believed that nuclear was going to be something that everybody would just understand, that that they would be okay with the fact that it was going to be a government-funded project worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So we know that none of that worked. So then, what do they do in order to try and justify the election results? Well, one thing you do, which is, I guess, part of human nature, is you blame people. You don't take responsibility yourself. You try and want to adhere to the general views that you hold that are extreme right-wing type of views that are right regardless of what the election would indicate. And this is exactly what the Sky News have done, which is interesting because many people within the Liberal Party now are questioning their policies, the way they presented them. The criticism of Dutton has kind of waned, but the sense of retribution, if you like, is still present, particularly by those people who are on the right that adhered to their rigid, unequivocal views. And this is what we see from people like Peter Credlin. So I have a clip here from Sky News where Peter's having a go at the ABC for the Four Corners program they did on the election. And the number of Liberal Party people who... I mean, George Brandis was there, but there were a number of other present Liberal Party members of Parliament who talked about what happened during the election and how they stuffed up, in other words. But there's no way. But Peter Credlin cannot accept this. Just cannot accept it, because Peter, I think, and along with Tony Abbott, believes that they're the ones that control the agenda for the Liberal Party. And that agenda is not going to shift, regardless of what the election has said, regardless of what other politicians are saying. They are not going to shift. So without doing an audit, which they haven't done at this point, without having in-depth discussions about how they're going to reinvigorate the Liberal Party, without any of that, they're still going to sit with these old-fashioned versions of what conservative actually means. So I'm just going to play you this clip now of Peter becoming extremely upset at the ABC, and particularly at some people that she denigrates because they are senators. And we need to remind ourselves at this point, Peter, you've never held a position in Parliament. Never. You've sat there behind Tony Abbott and massaged his ego as often as you have, but you've never held a position. And yet you're there prepared to criticise those that have. And I find it sort of abhorrent, really, to think that she's so arrogant. But anyway, this is what she has to say.
First, I don't suspect many of you would have watched the Four Corners program last night about the Liberals' election route. I thought you might have expected the typical ABC hatchet job. We weren't wrong, but there's plenty of unpleasant jobs I get to do.
You know, it fascinates me. There's nothing quite like the hatchet job that Sky News. But if another network criticises the party they support, which is Liberal Party, remember they are the Liberal Party network on Sky News, then they're doing a hatchet job. These people on Sky never, ever do a hatchet job.
Do for you, so I watched it, and here's my report. Well, largely it was, as you'd expect, a whole lot of people telling the Liberal Party that it had gone the wrong way, that it was too right-wing. Now, one of the most substantial figures there was former Liberal...
This concept for Peter that they are extreme right-wing, I reckon is painful for her, because there's no way in the world she and her ilk could make a shift, a significant shift anyway, to the centre in order for them to win votes. There's no way in the world they can do it. So they're going to spend the next 3 years trying to justify their position and watching, I guess, as more and more people turn off the Liberal Party, because they will. If they stay extreme right, as Peter does, they will eventually say, even worse than what it is right now. The Liberal Party, in effect, if you keep going down Peter Cregland's path, will become simply redundant, I reckon.
Liberal Senate leader George Brandis, a moderate too, I should add, who predictably said the Liberal Party had lost touch with Middle Australia.
The people you have to persuade to vote for you are the people who didn't vote for you last time but are open to persuasion. And those people live in the centre ground of Australian politics. And if you spend your time drinking your own political bathwater and only living in an echo chamber of far right-wing opinion, you're never going to get them.
I'm not sure I really...
And George is right. George is definitely right. But I wonder how Peter feels about all this.
They take a lot of advice from senators who've never really run many elections in their time, have they? Then there were special...
No, they've been senators and in politics, but never really run an election like Peter has. Because Peter's an expert in running elections. Because if she ran, which she attempted to do the last election, it had a fabulous outcome for her.
Pleadings from former federal MP Jason Falinski, who lost his own Sydney seat to a Teal, and somehow blames the Nationals and Conservatives for making the Libs unelectable. Even though it's a Liberal Party primary vote, it's the Liberals' primary vote that's fallen from around 40% to under 30% since 2013. While the Nats, well, they have largely held their numbers.
If we're talking about coal versus nuclear versus renewable versus whether it's even happening at all, then you're in a culture war scenario, and it's like, yes, our opponents love that issue. Why would we give our opponents what we want? And for so many years, that's what we've done.
I wouldn't call that a culture war. I'd call that a debate about our economic and indeed our national security.
No, of course. The last thing in the world you'd want to admit to is that there's a culture war. that they actually not only participate in, but create. So, yeah. So, and so much for her criticising the ABC for putting forward this program, because at the end of the day, these are Liberal Party people talking about what went wrong with this election, and Peter finds it really difficult to understand any of that.
We also heard too quite a bit from a very new Senator, Maria Kovacek, a close factional ally of the renewables lobbyist Michael Photius, the factional warlord in New South Wales, who almost the day after the election told the party, this is Kovacek, it had to dump its pro-nuclear policy. Remarkably enough, at the very same time, a whole lot of expensive, high-rotation, anti-nuclear ads started to appear. Well, last night, Kovacek was again on her anti-nuclear hobby horse.
You want to dump the nuclear policy, don't you?
I just think it was going to be hard enough as it was. So my answer to you is yes, because it was going to be difficult to negotiate, even if we'd started on it on Monday, if we'd won the election, right?
So what this tells us is that there's a number of reasonable people within the Liberal Party who understand what happened. But what we need to be aware of is that there's the extreme right, such as Peter Credlin, Tony Abbott, all the Sky News people. I will be making some more posts on some of the things that Sherry Markson and others have said in relation to this and other issues later. But the reality is that they are resisting any notion that their views about what happened in this election caused the catastrophic result that was the loss of the election by the Liberal Party. So we need to note that these people will be sticking by their right-wing version of events and their right-wing politics, regardless of what others in the Liberal Party are saying and regardless of what the voters are saying. They will be, the end result will be further dysfunctioning in the Liberal Party and actually, at the end of the day, its demise. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.